Continuing the theme of all things tech, data and consumer duty, today I'm delighted to welcome Tessa Lee, the Managing Director of moneyinfo. Tessa, hi.
Hi Roland, how are you doing?
I'm very well.
It's great to be here.
Yeah, absolutely. You're very welcome to be here. It's nice to see you. It's been a while.
Thank you. It has been a little while, yeah. It's good to see you, yeah.
So Tessa, just to kick off, I mean, tell us a little bit about Tessa Lee, your background, basically what you do now, moneyinfo, and yeah. Let's hear it.
Where to start? Well, I've been blessed, I think, to work in financial advice and wealth management for more years than I should say on camera. Straight out of university into a financial advice firm, working for a lovely financial advisor called Simon, who's now my financial advisor and moneyinfo's financial advisor today, which is brilliant. At the time, I'd just done a degree in classics and archaeology, and I was going to be the next Indiana Jones, but then
of course
needed to pay rent, looked in the paper, ended up falling into financial advice. And I was there for a few years, and then I ended up working at First Software, who you will remember. We were great rivals back in the day, Roland, with Key Software.
Yes, I remember it well.
Yeah, started on the help desk, answering calls from lovely clients, and basically cut my cloth in technology, pretty much doing most roles there, you know, CRM, implementations, training, account management, apart from coding. They didn't let me do any coding because that would have been dangerous, I think. And ended up heading up the product delivery team. And when that business sold, set up on my own with a couple of colleagues, Sim, who you know very well, and Chris. And our ex-boss, Mick Cons, who was the founder of First Software, brought the band back together into moneyinfo, which we MBO'd in 2014.
Fantastic.
And I'm now the managing director, became MD in 2016, and still loving all things technology, working with some brilliant forward-thinking clients to deliver client-facing portal technology to financial advisors and wealth managers.
And how's that going at the moment?
Well, really well. We've had some meteors hit us over the years that have obviously driven the adoption of digital technology in firms. So that transformation is ongoing. And for us, it's all about how we not just now drive client engagement, but also increase efficiencies with our firms, make them more profitable, allow them to service more clients more profitably. And, you know, the appetite has been growing for a number of years now. So we're starting to see really good adoption amongst those firms that are using moneyinfo.
Fantastic. Well, I mean, you mentioned two words there, digital and transformation.
Yeah.
At different stages in this. Exactly. So I mean, that has become a bit of a buzzword, hasn't it? So how do you think firms are reacting or adopting their own digital transformation journey, or are they?
Well, look, it's mixed, isn't it? You know, and in a lot of industries outside of where we sit, digital transformation has been done, right? In retail, in travel, in, you know, all sorts of industries. You know, we've totally changed the way we consume entertainment, whatever it happens to be. And we've been slower in financial advice and wealth management to adopt these types of technology. And for some firms, they are lagging behind, and they need to think about what they're going to do with this, because they're going to miss the boat otherwise, I think. So we see mix. We did some research recently with Compare amongst wealth management clients, and well over half of them were saying that if their wealth manager didn't improve their digital offering, they would look elsewhere, because it's what consumers expect today. It's what we all expect. We've all got a smartphone in our pocket. We're all using digital services every day. So we're seeing it accelerate. Things like a COVID pandemic, you know, they accelerate digital adoption as does regulation. And I'm sure we'll talk a little bit more about that later. But it's mixed across the financial advice and wealth management landscape today, I think.
Well, you said some or many firms are transforming. Is that actually the case, honestly?
At different levels, right? Okay. There are some that are still heavily paper-based, still heavily manual processed, haven't got their data in order, haven't got their systems in order. You know, they need a momentum to get there, though, because you and I both know, and we've been in this industry a long time, that firms don't adopt technology well. They don't get their data in order. You know, if I say to a firm, do you want to put your back office data online in front of your clients? Oh, no, it's not really up to date. Why isn't it up to date? Because there's no momentum to do so. We've got a lot of momentum to do so now, not least client expectations, because when firms do get things right, it's because they've got to put it in front of the client. Typically, that's been a review process. Let's get all our beautiful reports produced, and we'll get everything up to date for that, and then we can deliver our review. And then, you know, 2 days later, it's out of date again, and it gets picked up at the following year. But now, with the adoption of digital technology, there's a momentum to have that right.
Yeah.
And also, with consumer duty and regulation, it's all evidence and action-based. If you haven't got your house in order,
Yeah.
you're not going to be able to meet the obligations that that the FCA are going to want to see. So I think there's more momentum now than ever before. But I think we've got to realise that this technology changes so fast now, far faster than it did back in the day. So we've got to get beyond wanting to do things the way that we've always done them and start, really embracing the opportunities that technologies bring.
Okay, so that all sounds great. But clearly, we recently did that sort of joint roundtable event at the Gherkin with some consolidators. I think there were about 10 firms present there, but they all said the same thing, didn't they? At the end of the day, they can't get access to their data, they can't report easily or respond to requests for information, and that presents a real challenge, I guess. But in your experience, what are the biggest challenges that financial planners and wealth managers are reporting back to you? And how do you think the tech can help overcome those challenges? I mean, what is the process basically from going from where they are today to where they need to be tomorrow?
So I think there are a number of challenges that all firms are facing. Obviously, regulation continues to kind of march on, and there's always something that's going to hit firms. And for me, regulation can be a challenge, but also a huge opportunity. It does drive innovation and it drives change. So they've got to think they're working in a heavily regulated environment. They are seeing increasing pressures on the cost of advice and the fees that they can charge. They've got to start looking at how efficient their businesses are and using technology to really drive those efficiencies, because it's the only thing that will change other than throwing bodies at it. And you can't throw people continually as a process. It just becomes unproductive and unprofitable. So this is where technology, when done right, can really, really help. But traditionally, I think the adoption of technology has been done poorly. And so firms face a background where they've had technology projects in the past that either have failed or haven't been hugely successful, or how many times have you heard, well, I've got this back office, probably use about 10 or 20% of the functionality, right? They don't get there. And there are reasons for that. As tech providers, we've improved in how we deliver our services to clients. And also, I think there's always, when you bring a new piece of technology in, there's always that I want to get to the moon on the stick bit. I want to get right to that. I'm so excited about it. And we bite off too much and we don't get there. So there are better ways to adopt technology now. And when you bring your clients in the mix, it's not clients that won't adopt technology. No. They love having an app on their phone where they can communicate with their advisor and they can get information and access to their portfolios and their data. It's the businesses that have got to really work on that adoption. And that's not just a technology problem, it's a people problem, it's a culture thing. Change is difficult, but we've got to embrace it and move forward.
Well, Microsoft's own description of digital transformation is hard. Think big, start small, just start. It's a series of little steps. And I think you sort of alluded to it, but basically adversity is the mother of invention. So when things begin to get more difficult or more challenging, you have to adapt, change, or die.
It pushes us, doesn't it?
It does,
If you look at COVID, digital signature adoption went through the roof. It'd been there a long time, and suddenly we saw, I think, something like a 500% increase in the use of digital signatures in the first few weeks of the pandemic. Amazing. But guess what? We all adopted, and it wasn't that difficult.
Absolutely.
And we got there, and our clients responded to it, and we started getting business on our books quicker, and processes became easier to do. So I think that was a turning point for a lot of advice firms, because they realised if you do it in manageable steps, it doesn't have to be a huge 12-month project to put a piece of technology in a business. Look at the 3 big things you want to achieve and how those incremental changes will make an impact, and it's much, much easier than firms think.
But this is more than just a cultural shift, isn't it?
Yeah.
This is about re-engineering your business in many respects.
Yes,
Would you agree?
It is. But I think, again, if you say to a firm you need to re-engineer your business to make it more efficient and more productive, that's a scary starting point, right?
I was going to ask, how do you start? Where do you start? I mean, this was one of the questions that was raised the other day, if you recall. Yeah,
you've got to look at, every business has a business plan. And in that business plan, they have their objectives and their goals and the things that they want to achieve and the things they're going to focus on. You've got to look at that and think about how technology can dovetail into that and help you get where you want to go. And you've got to, like you said, start small. You've got to pick, a few key things that would make a big difference. Now, some of them may be fairly sizable changes, but a lot of them will be small changes that make a huge difference. Work on those. Know that your technology supplier can support you moving forward to your moon on a stick end game that you want to get to, either through their existing feature set or through their roadmap. Talk to them about that. But do it in incremental steps, and don't worry about the big end vision too much, because you'll never get there if that's where you're aiming for. You've got to start small and you've got to increment over time. But the keys to that, and I'm talking your mantra here, you've got to get your data in order, particularly now more than ever. You've got to get your data in order. You've got to rethink some of how your business processes work, because when digital technologies come into play, they're not the same as when they were done in a more manual, offline way. So you've got to think about that. But there's loads of help out there. All us tech providers provide help. It's our job to help you adopt our technology well. And there are other, people in the industry that can help. So use the resources that are out there. The main thing is embrace it. And lead from the top. You've got to get buy-in from the people in the business. And that means everybody's got to be brought into it and understand what it means for them in their role.
So obviously we keep talking about technology in general terms. So here's a little bit of a challenge for you. I mean, the technology in common use has been around for 20 years, 25 years in the case of some of our providers. So, candidly, how can you digitally transform a business based on technology that was launched when Steve Jobs launched the iPod?
It's a great question. And I think it is a challenge. I think our belief at moneyinfo is that we need to build a really well-connected technology ecosystem, right? Because firms want the best of breed technologies that work for them and the business processes and the services and the proposition they want to deliver. And I've never seen to date, in over 25 years now, one single piece of technology that's going to work well across your business.
No, of course not.
It's just not going to happen because we all do different things on purpose, right? And when we do it on purpose, we do it well. But when we try to do too much, we end up diluting, and you end up with, it's okay, but it's the best of a bad bunch. So we've got to get better at integration. I think it is improving, and there are some players in the market that are better than others. But I think I'm seeing amongst all of the technology providers and the platforms more appetite. And that's where it starts. It starts with the people, not necessarily the technology. But you're right, some of those older systems have some challenges in terms of how effective is their API connectivity? How broad is it really? Can you really get everything out of that system?
I think
how
that's
efficient?
The key. And I think that's the key, because we all talk about integrations. Our whole philosophy at Time for Advice is best of breed. So we want to work strategically with best of breed partners, because to your point, trying to be all things to all men just doesn't work.
No.
And understanding what your focus is and building a business around that focus is critical, but then seeking out those partners to help you deliver that comprehensive service that your client might want. And of course, integration is the key to that. So, I mean, you've mentioned on a number of occasions that integration is getting better. It's becoming easier to do that. Well, what do you mean by that exactly? What's changed?
The key thing that's changed is the appetite amongst tech providers to do it, right? That was always the biggest barrier. Technology sometimes can be a barrier, but the biggest barrier was the people in these businesses and the leaders in these businesses protecting their own and thinking, well, if I give you access to that data, what are you going to do with it? Are you going to, you're going to compete? Are you going to dilute what I do? And that was always the case. We've seen much more in the last couple of years, particularly an appetite amongst tech providers to work together to deliver a brilliant service for their clients to the benefit of both those technology partners. And that's ultimately possible. Always has been really, but I don't think we knew it before. So that's the key thing that's changed, is the appetite. We've seen platforms approach us now. We want to do more integration with you. Can you help us with this? We're looking at implementing some APIs. Can we talk to you about what would be useful? That's never happened before, really, until very recently. So that's the key thing that's changed. But secondly, we're seeing more modern technologies entering the market, evolving. We're seeing, for those of us that have been there for a long time, the understanding that you've got to keep your tech stack up to date. You don't just want a functional roadmap that delivers all the whizzy stuff. You've got to have a technical roadmap that makes sure that you're technology is staying current, so that you don't in 5 years' time have to do a whole replatforming exercise and rewrite your tech. So that's a realization for those of us that have been there before, not done that, and then the second time around you learn from it. So I think we're kind of in a perfect storm really in terms of technology. The new entrants that are coming in, the AI players, they're doing some fantastic stuff, but they need to be able to integrate. They need the data to function. And we as tech providers want to integrate to improve how we can support firms. So I think there's a lot going on. There's a lot in the mix, but I think the key thing is the attitude of the businesses themselves.
And that attitude is absolutely governed by the regulation and the introduction of consumer duty, which I believe presents potentially...
And it's not our data, right?
No.
It's not our data.
Correct.
It belongs to our clients' firms and to their clients.
And that's really important.
We have to make sure we recognise that.
Yeah, and that's really important because access to data with some of the legacy systems is not easy.
Yeah.
And that's a major complaint, and potentially gets in the way of firms actually delivering to their responsibilities around consumer duty. And the FCA is not blind to that.
It affects client outcomes.
Oh, it really does.
If you can't access your data.
The thing about the FCA, they've spent, £120 million it's been moved to digitising themselves over the last 3 years. They like the mergers and acquisitions activity that's going on because then there'll be fewer larger firms. Yeah. They also know the technology that the firms are currently using, and they know what that technology can support or not. And therefore, for them, it's an ideal opportunity. Big firms, PE-backed, not necessarily particularly good technology, which doesn't allow access. Make the hay, guys. This is perhaps the risk that firms are facing. Unless they recognise that the FCA is going to become increasingly intrusive, demanding information when they want it in the format that they want it, then that does represent potentially an existential threat to our industry.
Yeah.
What do you think about that? And how do you think we can help our clients get better positioned, if you like, to address some of the challenges around consumer duty?
Look, I think technology has to be at the heart of this, right? Because consumer duty is, it's TCF on steroids, isn't it? But it's about evidence and action, most importantly. And if you're going to evidence great outcomes for clients and show the action that you've taken, you need two things. You need good data, and you need evidence of good communications with clients, right? And that's where digital transformation can really help.
So understanding that getting good data and ability to communicate is not easy with the current crop. That is the big challenge, isn't it?
It is, but it's not a new challenge, Roland.
No,
it's been there. We had GDPR. You were responsible for making sure your client data was accurate, up to date, and accessible, and all of that good stuff. So it's not new.
No, it's not new.
But it is a challenge. But where we're seeing, the partnership between us in terms of portal and CRM practice management system, we understand that that's all about connecting both from a data perspective and connecting from a process perspective. Integration is not just about squirting data between one system and another now. It's about supporting those processes, those workflows, so that we can deliver on the promises to clients. And that's where technology will really help in terms of both evidence and consumer duty, and taking the right action to deliver on those outcomes for clients.
And you're right. At the end of the day, it's about client engagement, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's about clients being able to get the information they want when they want it, and receive the service that they want when they want it.
Yeah.
And that's why we work with you guys, why we believe building a strategic relationship with moneyinfo is the right approach for us and for our clients, simply because you not only provide the tech, but you also provide the support to firms to adopt and implement that change, which is a big part of it.
It's a huge part of it.
Exactly. As you know, having something put up on the internet and expect people to go there is unrealistic. So you have to educate firms to understand the benefits and then implement that change, as you say, in a gradual step-by-step approach, which is absolutely what's necessary.
And to build the confidence, right? Particularly for planners and advisors to work with their clients using technology and to put that in front of their clients, because they're the front people. And they, quite often there's a concern there that if I don't understand it, clients are going to ask me questions. It's all about building that confidence. And that's where the support and adoption is so important. It's as important as the delivery of the technology itself, if not more so.
Absolutely. So we keep talking about all this tech, lots of financial solutions available. So how does a firm actually go about firstly understanding what they should be doing, and then identifying the appropriate partner for them in order to meet their goals, their objectives?
In terms of understanding what they should be doing, that this isn't rocket science, right?
Okay.
It's a different spin on things, but you've got to look at what you want to achieve as a business and where that business is going and what that business plan is and what the objectives are and what the plan is and what therefore you need to change and what you need to improve and where are the pain points in your business. And talk to the business, talk to the people on the ground that are using your existing technologies, that are working with your clients, and find out the bits that take too much time, they have to repeat all the time, that are manual, that there's paper, very paper-based. Work that out and you'll get your list of key requirements. And in there, you'll be able to prioritise that. Now, there are great companies that can help with that. Our consultancy friends, Evoptras and Jigsaw Trees and, the others that can really help with that if you're stuck or if you don't have the time to really focus on it. But don't worry about being too ambitious with it, because you can make some key changes in a business that will make a huge difference without having to go, to a 18-month project to get you somewhere. Yeah. And then in terms of your technology suppliers, you've got to look at a number of things, as you would when you're advising clients in terms of how you would justify the right solution and what's suitable for a client. It's very similar with technologies. You've got to look at the business itself. You've got to look at the people that are going to be supporting you. I always say to people, phone up the help desk at the tech provider and see if they answer the phone. See how long you're chasing around trying to get through. That's important. Don't let us come in and do a standard demo and blow you away with all the whizzy stuff. Give us some challenges. Give us 3 big things that you want to achieve and let us demonstrate how we're going to meet those challenges. So really focus in on the things that you want to achieve. And then, look as well at the culture of the business. I think that's very important. We see our clients as long-term partners. We want to make sure that we're a good fit for them as much as they are for us. So get to know the people within that business, not just the guy at the front that's, trying to sell you the software. And understand as much as you can. And we are more than happy to talk to other firms that are using the technology, get some reference sites, see what their experience is, join user forum meetings. We're happy for prospective clients to come along to, our meetups and talk to our clients and work with your peers to see what works and what doesn't. And then you'll know whether it's the right piece of technology for you. And then it's, into project and away we go.
So it's, again, you're absolutely right. By the way, we adopt exactly the same process when people approach us. At the end of the day, you've got to be clear what your target client is, and whether that client has got the ability to implement, because there's no point starting a journey if it doesn't end successfully. And I think that's been a challenge in our industry historically, where people have been very focused on selling the software without understanding the impact or the consequences that will have if, for whatever reason, it's not a good fit. The answer's not always yes. And in fact, probably 50% of the time, it's not yes at all, it's a no. But then they sell it anyway. And I think that's, again, undermining the confidence that our industry has around tech suppliers, which we have to battle to recover. I say no to more people than I say yes to. And interestingly, at the end of that conversation, when they understand the reasons why, and we're not just being angsty or difficult, they really appreciate the honesty. Because it's something they've not really encountered that much, because they're always being sold to, rather than actually having the firm that they're interested in or talking to, listening to what they're saying. And that's
important.
Really important.
And you can, you know loads of people in the industry, loads of tech suppliers. You can point them in the direction of someone that can help them better than you can. And we do that as well. And people appreciate that, because actually, businesses change and businesses evolve. And, 5 years down the line, that firm may come back to you to say, actually, we're ready for this now. We've tried some other things that didn't quite work. We now want to go with you. So that we've just got to, there is enough business out there for all of us, right? There's plenty of business out there. But what's important for our success and your success as a tech business is that our technology is adopted and adopted well.
Absolutely.
We run license models. We want to make sure that we are delivering on those promises and that it works well. So it's in our interest to
it's also about delivering value, isn't it?
Yeah.
I mean, your point earlier about understanding where the pain points are. I mean, there are pain points all over the place in the business. I think, addressing those is absolutely critical, but in order of priority, as you quite rightly say. But before you can start that journey, there are some fundamental building blocks that need to be put in place, like data integrity, making sure that your data is absolutely spot on, making sure that you're using the fundamentals of the software to get valuations efficiently, remuneration, reconciliation done, understanding the tools that you have at your disposal to do more stuff, to add greater value. So once you've got that adoption phase nailed and you're perhaps not working as efficiently as you could be, but you're working in a more integrated way, which is critical, and you've got the priorities right and the focus right to ensure that the data integrity is maintained.
Correct.
Then I guess it's those little steps again. So if there was one thing that you would change that would impact your business, what would that one thing be?
Yeah.
And that's again identifying those areas of pain.
Let's focus on that. And that, you know, people look at, there's two key business processes that firms come to us that they want to streamline, improve, make more efficient, digitize, that good stuff. One is onboarding, and the other is client reviews.
Absolutely.
Every single firm.
Of course it is.
But actually, again, even in those processes, we say to a firm, what's the tricky bit? Where is it that's, you know, rather than us building a whole big workflow process for you off and the off, where is it? Getting clients into meetings is a real challenge. We're playing telephone tennis, email, we're trying to do this. Right, well, let's drop a calendar, you know, let's put MS bookings in, integrate it in before you drop it in, and do it by that. That's a little piece ticked off. Yeah. Or we just want to get some discovery information on onboarding for our clients, or we just want to streamline the process of getting clients to sign up to our agreements and terms and understand. Fine, let's just pick that piece off. So there are ways that you can increment in those processes to make them much easier to deliver, and then you understand that bit, everybody gets confident with it, everybody's bought into it, now we'll add on. Let's now introduce digital fact find for your clients. You don't have to have a 30-page digital fact find. You can do a short discovery one. You can do, you know, however you want to tailor it. You might want to do it collaboratively with the client. You might want the advisor to do some bits. All of that flexibility is there now. So that's then enables you to kind of step forward and continuously improve. And your clients see that continuous improvement as well, and they engage more with that. So
I think what's interesting is that many firms don't record their time of their people. And this is a bit of a sort of a hobby horse for me, because I think time recording is really important. Not necessarily, people look at it as a control thing, where actually from a self-management perspective, I think it's really important, because once you've got data as to how you are spending your time, all of a sudden you begin to see, actually, is that person doing the right thing? Are they spending the right amount of time on the right thing? When I was an IFA all those years ago, I used to record my time. And after a few months, I analysed it and I found that I was spending 19% of my time doing my job. Okay? 81, which was seeing clients and seeing professional firms. 81% of my time was spent doing stuff that I hated doing. Review reports, compliance, all that sort of stuff. And I found that actually by outsourcing, I recruited a power planner, basically passing my power planning to Mr. Tony Theopley, bless him, released another 20% of my time. And surprise, surprise, not only was I spending more time with my clients, double the amount of time, I doubled my turnover. You know, and it's those sort of things that when you begin to add up how people are spending their time, analysing how they're spending their time, asking whether the time spent is the right thing or not, and then applying a value to it, you can begin to see that actually technology costs are irrelevant compared to the savings you're going to make as a consequence.
You get a true picture of the return on your investment.
And that's
tech,
the point,
right?
isn't it?
You can see, it's tangible.
And I think once you've made that connection, it might cost you 10 grand to solve that problem, but that problem saves you 110 grand a year forever.
Exactly.
You know, and it's that value proposition, it's price and value again, isn't it? It applies to every business.
It does. It's the same for us as it is for them, but that's often missed. It's like, there's all the license costs, that was expensive.
I know.
But it's all about value. It's not expensive if you're getting the value out and it's taking cost and time out of your business.
Absolutely.
But that's not always tangible if you don't measure it.
Well,
so
I think that's the
agree.
point.
It's, you know,
and I think if you think about it, the cost of a license for an advisor typically is 140, 150 quid a month all in. Well, you've got to save maximum an hour a month using the tech. I mean, go figure. So sort of getting close to wrapping up really, obviously there's a lot of talk around AI, artificial intelligence. What role do you see our AI playing in the future? And importantly, what do you see happening over the course of the next year or so with all these new AI service providers popping up?
So look, I think last year, 2023 was the year of Gen AI, wasn't it? Where it all just went huge and everybody got very excited about it. And I think this year is the year of responsible AI and really understanding what are the scenarios that AI is going to benefit financial advice and wealth management business. How is it going to help? It's not going to replace financial advisors or planners or wealth managers, but it's going to adapt the way they work, just like Excel changed the way accountants work, right? It didn't put them out of business because you can do all the sums in Excel now. It just changed the way they work. And you see that with every piece of technology. So I think there are some brilliant, players out there that are coming in. The key things that I'm seeing are around efficiencies, really. That's where I think firms really respond to AI. It can help me be more efficient through simple user scenarios or cases like meeting transcriptions, summarising actions, reading fact find data in for suitability reports. There's some brilliant stuff going on out there. And I think that's the starting point of it, that piece. And I think we'll see a lot more of that over the next 12 months. I think there's a little bit of nervousness about it because we're in a regulated industry and we've got to justify how things have happened and where's the governance around that. That's a big piece of it. I also see there's a lot of angles around compliance and automating those processes, seeing a lot more of the data universe that people have and using AI to analyse that more effectively than a human eye can. I also see huge work that will go on in terms of information security and monitoring and alerting because data is the most important thing that every business is holding, and you've got to protect that. And I think AI has a huge place in lifting up the monitoring and alerting and analytics that we can do on that. So I don't think it will move as fast as people might think, because look at how firms have adopted technologies that aren't AI. It's going to take a while for people to embed those in their business. But to do that, they've got to have the foundations in the business right.
Absolutely.
There's no point looking at a whizzy AI tool if your data's in a mess and your process is in a mess and your operational model's not working. You can't do it. So it's another momentum to get that right. And I think it will accelerate. But I don't think it'll be fast. But I think AI is moving really fast, scarily fast. And I don't think we'll catch up with it for a little while yet.
I completely agree with what you say. We see, obviously Curo from Time Advice is built on the whole Microsoft 365 ecosystem, the Power Platform and Dataverse. So completely subscribe to the view of having that singularity, that single source of truth, which is what everybody needs, where our industry at the moment is data all over the place, and bringing it together is always a challenge. But given last year, I think Microsoft invested $37 billion in R&D, of which $10 billion was in AI. We're now seeing Copilot appear everywhere.
Exactly.
I switched on Curo the other day, and Copilot was summarising the activity timeline, all of the notes. It was asking me to ask it questions, and it's not beyond the wit of man to see in the next few years, you're going to be speaking to Curo. And it's going to be answering. This is the direction of travel, no doubt at all about that. So this has been really interesting, and thank you for your time today, Tessa. But reasons to be cheerful, or is it doom and gloom for the industry?
Oh, I'm always cheerful. I'm a positive person, Roland. So there's always reasons to be cheerful. I think it's an exciting time. We're at another pivotal point in the technology, particularly, and in the industry where, there's huge opportunity out there. I don't think it's doom and gloom. I think consumer duty is a brilliant thing. And I think once firms get to grips with it, it will only make us better. I think technology is vastly exciting and always will be. We're never going to be out of things to do with it. It's always moving on. It's always changing. I think there's huge reasons to be cheerful and optimistic about the future. And it's the only way to be, isn't it? Otherwise, what's the point? We've got to enjoy it and we've got to embrace it and get on with it. So,
100% agree with you, Tessa. Lovely to see you again.
You're very welcome.
Thank you for spending time with me.
Nice to see you too.
Absolutely.
I've enjoyed it. Thanks, Roland.
Pleasure.